Everyone to CDO's magazine series of one-on-one interviews with CDOs, data leaders, and key influencers. I'm your host, Robert Lutton, Vice President of Sandhill Consultants, and I'm coming to you today from Toronto, Canada, working with the CDO magazine, MIT CDO IQ Symposium, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers. Today, I'd like to introduce Stuart Bond, Director, Data Integration Software, IDC Canada. Welcome, Stuart.
Thank you, Robert. Pleasure to talk to you today.
Pleasure to have you with us today. If it's possible, I'd like to start with a couple of background questions to get our audience a little bit more familiar with you and your organization. I'm familiar with IDC, but maybe you can tell us a little bit more about IDC Canada.
Sure, Robert. Legally, I work for IDC Canada, but I actually logistically report into IDC Worldwide. I cover the data integration, data intelligence software market from a worldwide perspective, and I report into the worldwide team. But for legal and payroll reasons, I work for IDC Canada. IDC Canada is a regional office, and IDC has many regional offices around the world. And the relationship to IDC Worldwide is that each region provides input to all of our forecasting, all of our shares, as we watch the technology and communications markets around the world. The local offices, the local researchers who have their pulse on what's going on in that region, in that country, can provide feedback and input to those forecasts as we look at the markets from a worldwide perspective.
And Canada's lucky to have you. So glad to see another fellow Canadian. Another just a softball question just to get started. How did you actually get started in the industry?
So that's a great question. I actually have a diploma in transportation engineering technology. When I was working in the engineering and transportation field, I also had a big background in computers. And that background in computers led me into jobs that involve computers. I actually ended up being an IT architect for many years. I was a certified IT architect with IBM for 10 years. Solving integration solutions for clients really around the world. And as a part of my work with technology and work with clients, I found my way into an analyst role. And I've really been able to join my experience of being there, having been there, done that, and applied it to what I'm learning and seeing in the market. And it's been a really good match of my background with my current role.
One can see that, and again, I know you've spoken at the MIT CDO IQ Symposium as well, and we look forward to your presentation again this year. From what I understand, the IDC and IDC Canada have recently been doing surveys on data leaders on the concept of what's leadership is required. If I might be able to ask, being the fact that you're obviously an organization that surveys and researches these things. What is it that you think that the top skills are that a CDO should have? And maybe if you can give a hint into some of the qualifications that you've seen that your surveys show as well.
Sure, absolutely, Robert. From a skills perspective, Chief Data Officer plays a lot of different roles. And actually what we found out in the work that we've done is that these chief data officers or these data leaders, they can wear many hats. They, as you know, there's been some coming together of the chief data officer and the chief analytics officer playing a data and analytics role. There's a lot of other aspects of this, a lot of different things that responsible for data in an organization need to really focus on and look at in that role. And that's in part because data is being used by a growing number of roles within the organization. You know, anyone from the front office to the back office to the executive office. Increasingly, there are more and more people in the organization that are letting data influence their decision-making and their actions as they go about their daily tasks. We've actually called those people at IDC, we've created this new label for them. We're calling them Generation Data, or Gen D for short. They're the data native worker that really data is what they work with. It's what they work in. It's what they use to achieve their outcomes every day. It's not a chronological generation that we might be used to in Generation X, Generation Y, Generation Z, or Generation Z for us in Canada. But it's more of a vocational generation. It really, data infuses their experiences. It infuses their outcomes. It's a part of who they are and what they do. And these people in the organization range from the people that have data in their title, that have to do the data administration, that have to do the data stewardship, that do the data engineering, to the data analysts, the business analysts, the frontline workers that are working with data as they're serving customers. It's anyone who can read data, can work with that data, do some sort of analysis of that data, and also be able to argue with the data, and arguing not from the perspective of arguing with the data and asking the data if it's right or wrong, but using that data to argue their point as they go into meetings, as they're trying to make a decision, or as they're trying to understand what's going on. And because there's such a vast range of these people that work in the organization, the data leader really needs that vast knowledge and capability to not only work with the data, in the bits and bytes and in the mathematics and the numbers and stats level, but also to work and understand how that data is being used. They need to have the qualifications of actually having been there and done that with the data, so that they can understand how the people that they're leading are using that data.